Welcome to the hearing for the Board of Health hearing on October the 22nd. Times fly for the year. I'd like to do a roll call for the Board of Health hearing. This is for the quorum purpose. Dr. Duffy, Dr. Gondololi.
Here.
Dr. Kenneth.
Yeah.
Dr. Leskow.
Here.
Dr. Waller. Tom Lee here. And staff, Tom McKeon.
Staff is here. Thank you.
We have the quorum. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the town of Barnstable's government's access channel. This meeting will be televised via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, please let the channel know if anyone is recording this meeting or transmissions. Seeing none. The first item on the agenda is a septic variance. It's a continuance from August 27, 2024. John O'Day representing Lana and Edward Lukatsky, 129 Hayes Road, Centerville, maps/parcels 210-095, phase 1 of the CWMP failed septic system, requesting to maintain septic until sewer is available. Variant request from sections 360-44. Deadlines to repair the failed septic systems of the town of Barnstable Code. The engineer has sent an email late this morning asking this to be tabled for 2 months. So that will be in December, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're meeting on the third Tuesday of December instead of the fourth Tuesday because of the holidays.
Yeah, just 1 minute. That will be December the 17th. Could I have a motion to table this to the December 17th?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. The second one is Dan Ojala, representing owner Brian Duffy, 41. Dan Ojala, representing owner Brian Duffy, 41 Stoney Point Road, Barnstable, maps parcel 336-041, requesting septic variance for reduction of setback, SAS to bordering vegetated wetland, BVW, 100 feet to 58.7 feet, and septic system to BVW, 100 feet to 57.9 for section 360-1. Hi, Danny. Is your mic on?
There we go. For the record, Danny Gonzalez, professional engineer with Down Cape Engineering, here on behalf of Mr. Duffy and his property on Stony Point Road. This is an existing 3-bedroom dwelling. We're proposing to upgrade the system from a failed, it's failed currently. We're moving it further away from the BVW, but we're kind of strapped with BVW on both sides. So it's 5 feet above groundwater with the bottom of the system. It's pressure dosed. And we are asking for the variance for the setback distances to the BVW. It's already been approved through conservation, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Danny. Any public comment on this one? Seeing none, staff?
Staff has no objections to granting the variances.
Any comment from the board member?
Move to approve.
All in favor? It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next one is Hymie, 67 Crestview Circle, Centerville, maps parcel 252-051-016, seeks to forego repair of failed septic system due to a sewer availability in 4 years. Variance request from sections 360-44. Deadlines to repair failed septic system of the town of Barnstable Code. The applicant has sent an email request to withdraw these applications. Right, staff?
That's this, yes, I received that email. But is the inspector here anyhow? He came anyhow, in case you had a question, but he didn't
It's
know.
withdrawn, right?
He didn't know it was withdrawn.
Oh,
The
sorry.
owner emailed us, but didn't email them.
Okay. Thank you for coming, but they're withdrawn.
I figured there might be questions about the inspection report. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Otherwise, if this continue, I have a lot of questions on the report of the septic condition of the existing septic system. But since it withdraw, I don't have any questions. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Tom, does this mean that it's going to be repaired?
It didn't say, but they need to repair it. If they just fail, that means they have to do something, because otherwise this is ongoing issues before they connect. So they need to consider that options. The next one is the sewer connections / extension request. Karen Moreshead, representing property owner Andrew and Alison Feldman, 134 Strawberry Hill Road, Centerville, maps parcel 247-211, requesting to defer the requirement for the sewer connection. Variance request from sections 360-13 of the Town of Barnstable Code. Good afternoon, Karen.
Hi, how are you?
Make sure your mic is on.
It's green. Does that mean it's on?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
It's not on.
Oh, it's not on.
Push.
Yeah, now it's better.
My clients purchased this property in September, and the previous owner had installed a new septic system in 2020. And the house previously had been a summer home, and it is currently a summer home. So we were just requesting to extend the sewer hookup because it's lightly used in a newer septic system.
Right now, because there's a CWMP, we're trying to get the homeowner to install, and we need a good reasons for that request, extension request. Because right now, you're just making the request, but really no reason in terms of the hardship or not. So it's difficult for us to make the determination right now, because you have to go through the steps and talk to the DPW and go through the financing stuff, because this is a vacation home right now for them, but
Right.
they
They
can
live
rent
in-
it out too. We don't have a control.
Okay. It was
Right.
just that because it was a newer system in 2020, that doesn't matter.
No.
Staff
Okay.
is not recommending granting this.
Because what
variance.
happened is, in the old system arrangement, there is a
Sure.
calculations for the stool creek and stuff like that. But right now, under the CWMP, we don't have that formula.
Okay, so what can we do? Nothing?
Nothing, except you go and find out what is the hardship in this case before you can connect. So you need to tell us the reasons.
Last December, the Board of Health passed a requirement that everyone must connect within 6
6
months.
months.
They were notified back late in the
Previous
spring.
owner was, yes.
Oh, not this owner.
No.
So it would be fair to give the new owner 6 months from the date of transfer of ownership in my suggestion. That would be my suggestion. When did they take possession of real estate?
829.
8/29.
Seems to me that their attorney should have notified them.
Well, we did, yeah, we talked about it all. And they live and work in Bermuda. They just wanted to buy something before they moved back here and get into the market. And then we explained to them what was happening with the system, but because it was a newer system, we were hoping to forego until they actually moved back here full-time.
I would suggest the board could grant till March 31st. That would be 6 months
Oh,
from
sure.
the date of.
That wouldn't be an issue, I don't think, but the idea of deferring it because of the newness of the system, the town really wants everybody to be hooking up when it's.
Understood.
Right, right.
Okay. All right, so March,
So like Tom said, we can give you an extension to March 31st, 2025. That
Okay.
gives you that 6 months to look at all the options and try to make the connections.
sure. Okay, thank you.
You have to vote on that.
Yeah. Could I have a motions to approve the 6 months extensions to March 31st, 2025 for the sewer connections?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Garbage and refuse variance. Vani Patel, representing Hyannis Plaza Hotel 662 Main Street, Hyannis, map parcel 308-049, requesting a variance regarding to the minimum spec setback from the abutted property Town Code 355-4. Hello.
Hi, it's nice to meet all of you guys. My name's Vani Patel. I actually graduated from Sturgis Charter Public School in 2016, so it's been a nice walk down memory lane coming here. I'm representing Hyannis Plaza Hotel, which is a small business that is owned and operated by my family. I am their newest employee as of 3 weeks, so hopefully I'll try to answer your questions to the best of my ability, but this does predate me a little bit. So overall, we're asking for a variance regarding the new location of our dumpster. We've been putting a lot of resources into this property to make it more family-friendly and welcoming to visitors on the Cape. One of the things that we did is to move the dumpster away from one of our buildings. We have a smaller unit in the back of our property. It historically has served for storage. However, we are now trying to repurpose it via a long-term plan for employee-assisted housing. Acknowledging that there is an affordable housing shortage here on the Cape, we're trying to do good by our housekeepers and front desk managers by providing them this employee benefit. And so the plan there was to move the dumpster away from where future tenants would be living to a spot that is distant from any guests, any employees, as well as helping serve a new lane for our emergency response teams. So the dumpster was right against the building. Now we've moved it to a fence, which is next to our neighbor's property line. We, on average, have 4 to 6 feet of distance. We did a little bit of research online, a quick Google search, to see that 5 feet was the recommended guidance. However, we didn't know that the E-Code website had specific requirements for Barnstable. Now we do, so we're asking for an exception this time. One thing that is not listed in the document is that our neighbor's property on their side of the fence, it is inaccessible by humans. There's like I believe bushes, as you can see from Exhibit 1, as well as a large, I don't know what it is, but a electric machine. And so that's kind of like some of the reasoning behind why we decided that area, but open to hearing your feedback and suggestions as well.
Tom, there's someone here from the public. You might
Yeah,
want to speak.
yeah, just a minute. Any comment from the public on this one? Come on up. You want to go up there, or you want to go in this podium?
I'm Stu Bornstein. I'm the abutter that owns the building, and we've had that building for, oh God, since the early 60s. And I drive by, we noticed there were smells coming into the building, and we see a very large dumpster with, I think, 4 huge dumpsters built into a wooden structure.
Right.
And it's the hotel garbage. Now, considering they got an acre of parking, the whole open area, including the restaurants down the other end, that they got a wheelbarrow garbage, the drip and everything on the parking lot into those dumpsters. That's a shame. They have abused my property. Behind my building, they filled in 10 feet of dirt and pushed a wall in. I mean, it's just like, it's a free-for-all back there. But having this dumpster where it is not very good. It's odors. And they have a whole acre behind there. They have parking, lots of parking back there, which I think they rent out to the Brazilian restaurant at night. And I'm the one that's taking the hit with all this garbage next to my building. And they certainly have a lot of other places to put it, not next to my building. And I like to see it moved as far as possible on their property where they're causing all of it. We're wrapped it. They got an L-shaped property, and if you go out there and look at it, there's no shortage of places they could stick it, but put it within a few feet of my property. And again, it's not just a house with just a small dumpster. This is a commercial dumpster. It isn't even a compactor. It's 4 or 5 bays they just dump in there, everything that comes out of that hotel, restaurant, everything. And it doesn't belong there. It truly doesn't. And I'd like to have it moved a good distance away. And I have never really come and complained about anybody's dumpster on Cape Cod ever, but this is getting to be a nuisance. And it isn't the case they don't have any other place to put it. They just put it what was convenient for them because it was out of the way. But it's hurting us. And I'd like you to come and take a look at it and make a decision where else they could put it.
Thank you. Any comment from the staff?
I took a look at it, and it did appear to me that there was room to move it at least 10 feet away from the property line. You looked at it as well, correct? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Last Friday, I went out to the property and take a look at it because the parking lot is a very busy parking lot. When I was there, there's a lot of car going through the parking lot, coming in and going out to the back streets. And so you have to take a look. I mean, the property is huge, but if there is any place that you can relocate that locations of the garbage area, that would be ideal because, you're collecting a lot of the odor, the food waste and all that stuff. That's the odor that people is complaining. Okay, that's our concern. At least that's my perspective. But, any board member have any comments?
I mean, I agree. I think it should be somewhere it's not going to be a nuisance. And if there's plenty of room there, then I think between the director and the house staff, they can figure out where would be a suitable place for it to go.
I just have to say, though, we can't, the only regulation we have is a 10-foot setback in our code. I can't require them to move 50 or 100 feet away from the property.
Right, right.
No, but whatever you guys think.
So, go ahead.
Have the two of you talked to each other?
No, sorry, this is our first time meeting. I would love to meet and talk it out as well.
Yeah.
I have no problem meeting them out there and find a place that works for them and works for us. I'm not trying to be adversarial, it's just a real problem where it is. I mean, it just doesn't belong where it is. And again, it's not a compactor where it gets picked up regularly. It's, I don't know how often, but you can smell it far away, so.
You should speak on the mic, otherwise they cannot record it.
It's a big-size hotel, and there's a lot of refuge, big restaurant.
I think we understand that. My question is, did you talk to them about it? And do
No,
we
they
know
never
that
talked
there
to
isn't
me.
something that couldn't be worked out?
They just slammed it against my building and never told me about it. I found it out from people in my building were talking about a smell, and I went out there. And my experience with the owners of the building, they have no regard for anybody's property next to them. I could take you and show you a whole bunch of issues they have going on out there. So I'm here to complain.
Without casting aspersions on anybody, it
I understand.
seems like maybe we could talk to each other and.
I'm happy to meet with them and move it someplace that works for everybody.
So I would suggest that maybe, table this for next month and give you a chance to talk about what the solution is before coming back.
Fair enough. Okay.
Fair?
Well, I think we know we can't give, a variance on this request.
No, they have to relocate.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like moving the dumpster 5 feet is going to solve the problem that the two of you have. And by law, that's as much as we can do. Do you think 5 feet is going to make a difference in the smells?
No, it's what's there. It's, again, just to reiterate,
Yeah.
it's not a single dumpster. It's a whole trailer truck of a dumpster. It's a different animal. It's huge. And it was just one little dumpster, we may not be standing here, but it's,
I,
so I'd like to meet with them. If they can find a place to move it that works for me and doesn't bother me, I got no problem with that.
yeah. I mean, I think we can say the dumpster has to be moved.
Right.
Yeah.
At least 5 feet, and if you're gonna move it 5 feet, why not move it to a place that makes your neighbors happy?
Yeah, that's why I suggested give them a month to talk it over and then come back in a month,
That's fair enough.
right?
Yeah.
Good.
Could I have a motion to table this for a month into November?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? It's approved.
Thank you.
The November date is 26, right? Okay,
It is.
yep, it is. That's okay.
It's not Christmas Eve. That's,
Temporary food, Linda Davey. Temporary food event coordinator, representing kitchen appliance Matt Cape. Appliances, 6 Aggregate Waste, Barnstable, map parcel 274-040-002. proposed outdoor food makers market in the parking lot of Camp, November the 9th, 2024, 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Good afternoon, Linda.
Good afternoon. We are interested in hosting a market for food makers that use the Cape Cod Culinary Incubator. It's located behind Cam Appliances in the back. It's a permitted kitchen. And we want to give the people who use that kitchen the opportunity to show off the foods that they make and a venue to sell them to the public. Cam Appliances, as the landlord of the incubator, has offered a side parking lot area for them to use. Doesn't interfere with traffic flow in and out of the building, and so.
Thank you. Any public comment on this one? Staff?
Staff has no objections.
Any comment from the board member?
I think this is the best application we've ever had for a food.
I'll mark out on my calendar to come.
Please do. Please do.
One question I have is, you have all these vendors,
Yep.
and did they apply to the town for the,
Yes.
they did all apply. You know that, Thomas?
We've been working with Diana in the permitting office to
Yes.
make sure that everybody who is required to have a permit has one.
Yeah, and there are a couple extra that don't have food, that don't need permits from us, sharp knifing.
Yep.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Could I have a motion to approve this temporary permit?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is septic installer Patrick Howard, Plymouth, Massachusetts. Staff? Sorry. Hi, Patrick. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to say. I'm just told I made the application as a septic installer down here. I've got a builder who's has a client on 913 Old Falmouth Road, I believe, and it's old 913 Old Falmouth Road, and he was asking me to come down and do an installation, and I took the test and stuff, and that's it.
Yeah, Mr. Howard passed the exam. He has licenses in Plymouth, Middleborough, Carver, and Bourne. He submitted 3 references, and they essentially known him for at least 10, some 20 years. One person known him for 20 years. He's very accommodating and very diligent. Staff has no objections to granting the license.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The next item is the legal notice, proposed amendments to Section 307-9, body art establishment, and Section 307-10, body art practitioners permit, proposed revisions to permit expiration date. Tom?
Yes, the existing expiration date is February 28th. Those dates were set up, and we issue so many different types of permits, we had to stagger them over the year. But now that it's all computerized, I'd like to move this, change this to December 31st of each year.
Sounds
That's my
good.
rationale.
Any comment from the board member?
Sounds good.
Good?
Nobody from the public objects.
Nope.
That's fine with me.
Yeah. Could I have a
Move to
motion to approve? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All set. And the next one is the announcement from P.O. Lombardo, P.E. representing Lombardo Associate, Inc., new office locations, nitric wastewater nitrogen removal system. There is a package of the system informations. So where they move it to Newton? Harwich?
Harwich.
Howard, yeah.
Okay.
Is this just an FYI?
Yeah,
Well,
just
it was
for
addre-
information.
The letter was addressed to the Board of Health, and I thought you should have it as correspondence. And it's also a nice, colorful brochure you can look at there.
Yeah.
Presumably, we'll be seeing some of their systems come through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is one of the nice nitrogen-reducing technologies for nitrogen.
Yeah, I noticed on there that it looks like it performs well even on a seasonal basis, and I thought that might have been a drawback with some of the other systems or a concern for some of the other systems we've seen.
Because the other system does not have the carbons, supplementary carbons to offset, to make sure the day-night cycle moving finished.
Yeah.
That's why. And they have because they have the wood chips as
Right.
far as part of the Nitrex systems, so. Let me jump on to the last one first before I go back. We have two sets of minutes, August the 27th and September the 24th. Did you have a chance to look at that, board members?
Yeah.
Any questions or amendments?
One question on the Candy Corner. They were.
Which one?
They were going to, on August 24th,
27th.
number 3. Well, no, yeah, 3. They were going to have to go to the Mass Plumbing Board. Did you know if they did that, Tom?
No, they haven't heard anything back yet on that. I know that they are required to do that. The plumbing inspector is also, he sits within 10 feet of my office, so we communicate almost every day. I can get updates from him anytime on this.
There are no seats out front now. I went by there today, and
Okay.
Could I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of
Second.
August the 27th and September the 24th?
So moved.
Anyone second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Last item. Thank you for the patience, and we have hold off the discussions from August until now, because at that time, Dr. Alaska was not available during the discussions. And I want to postpone it to today so that he is available as part of these discussions. So, a couple of things I just want to mention. Just an update. We talked to the legal yesterday, and they gave us some updated information on different status of the wind projects. Number one is the wind. They keep changing the name, so it's very confusing if you're not following it. I got confused yesterday, too, so that's why I want to have something written down so that we know what it is and be clear. So wind is this is the first one, is the wind is fully permitted, both at the state and the federal levels, and is under construction. The project's exporting cable landed under the Covell Beach, and duck banks have been constructed under the town roadway connecting to the substations at Independence Park. As part of its commission's phase, the project is connected to the regional electrical grid and was transmitting small amount of electricity until a turbine blade fail occurred in the wind farm south of Nantucket. That's the part one. Part two is the Park City wind. Now it's known as the New England Wind Number 1. The New England Wind Number 1 is fully permitted at the state and federal levels. The project's proponent has requested several zoning exemptions from the state DPU that would allow for a driveway across the parcel at 6 Sioux Flying Hill Road to provide access to the proposed substation at 8 Sioux Flying Hill Road. The driveway was previously reviewed as part of the Energy Facility Siting Boards, or the EFSB, permitting process for the projects. Project constructions within the town, including planned exporting cable landing under the Crestview Beach, is not expected to start until after the proponent finalizes a power purchase agreement with the electric utility. So that part of the project is, the construction of it has not started. Okay. Commonwealth Wind, New England Wind Number 2. New England 2 is a federal federal environmental review has been completed. New England Wind Number 1 and New England Wind 2 were reviewed at the same time by the federal bureaucracy of Bureau of Ocean Energy Management as two phases of one projects. At the state level, however, they have proceeded as two separate projects. The New England Wind 2 is not permitted at the state level. The project's state environmental review commenced, but nothing has happened for a year. Regarding this environmental review, last October, New England Wind 2 received a certificate from the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs on the project's draft Environmental Impact Reports, or the EIR, under the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, or the MEPA. The next step would involve the proponent filing its final EIR, but that has not been happening yet. No state permits can be issued until after the project's MEPA review is complete. The administrative proceedings that would permit the project has not yet started before the State Energy Siting Board. The Energy Facility Siting Board review would cover the entire projects located in the town. Construction cannot begin until after MEPA review is complete. The Energy Facility Siting Board issues a final decision that all the permits are secure. Accordingly, constructions on New England Wind 2 at least a year out. So that's just a quick update from the legal with the discussion yesterday. So I just want to maybe let the board member to make their comment, and then I want to make my comment at the end so that, this is a discussion with the board member and Tom too, because Tom has been with the public health for a long time.
A discussion about commissioning a study to study the EMFs from the underground piped electrical system, correct?
Yeah,
As requested by Sunsanne Conley, correct?
right.
Oh,
Yeah, you can come and ask the questions.
Okay.
Come.
I was just wondering if I would be able to speak before your deliberations begin?
That's fine. We are internal here. We are not really
Yeah.
discussing, we are not arguing a lot of things.
Oh,
We're just trying to,
excellent.
trading our thoughts, exchanging our thoughts and ideas and,
Exactly.
as a common, discussions.
It's okay if I sit?
Yeah, that's fine.
I was enjoying Barnstable's wonderful golf program all day, and I'm exhausted. But healthful program. So thank you for letting me speak before you have your discussion. I really appreciate it. I do want to emphasize that the siting and permitting of these projects is almost separate from what we're asking of our town's Board of Health. We are convinced as citizens who have been following this minutely for 2 years that Avangrid is not going to back off of New England Wind 2. They are pushing for any outstanding easements to be granted for New England Wind 1. One of those is crossing that driveway. That's not complete. That's still in dispute. Their permitting, by the way, for that substation is also still being adjudicated in, I believe, appellate court in Boston. So those two projects, we understand that the Covels Beach project is under construction. But anyway, I knew you were going to talk about this today, and I appreciate that. We all do so much that you have shown an interest that a lot of folks simply haven't shown in our concerns. So I'd like to present 4 questions, and I won't take too long to do this, but Avangrid told us at one of their community meetings that electromagnetic field would be undetectable and no more than what one encounters in one's home, registering at 1 to 2 milligauss. When 10 of the eventual 62 turbines were generating electricity prior to the blade failure, our EMF meters were registering at the beach between 29 and 89 milligauss. That's not a helpful level of EMF for humans. So our question is, what would be, we pose these to the board hoping that you'll take up these questions in a study that you either conduct or commission. But our question on EMFs is, What would be an acceptable level of regular exposure to EMF on our recreational beaches, and should there be a special concern regarding childhood exposure to such levels? Secondly, each of the 7 400-megawatt cables Avangrid has installed and proposes to install require a large splicing vault beneath the parking lots of 3 beaches. An expert of 3 types of underground vault failures, smokers, fire, and explosion, I can give you his name, estimates there are between 3,000 to 5,000 dangerous events annually. Most of these events are caused by the intrusion of water or moisture in these underground electrical vaults. The parking lots of Coville's, Craigville, and Douse's beaches are completely under ocean water between 3 and 5 times a year, a fact that our group has documented with photography and videography over these past 2 years. So think about that. We're putting splicing vaults, lots of them, in recreational beach parking lots. So our question here is, does permanent extra high voltage infrastructure in the parking lots of our recreational beaches pose an unacceptable public hazard? Thirdly, Avangrid's 3 projects would result in over 20 miles of underground duct banks through the streets of Barnstable. These would be in close proximity to our drinking water delivery supply system. Each cable, and we have this directly from the engineer, generates approximately 180 degrees Fahrenheit of heat. And there would be 9 cables, for example, in the duct bank leaving Douse's Beach. The thermal effect of all this heat is simply unknown. I could go into details about the precast concrete duct banks, but I'll spare you. Our question here is, could the public drinking water delivery systems in the affected water districts be affected by this heat? Is bacterial growth in the town's water lines a possibility? Would feeds to residences be affected? Think about that. Maybe we can say we'll do the mains and insulate them, but every home is not going to have an insulated feed line. Fourthly, this is my last point, Avangrid's 3 projects would result in a significant increase in substation construction in Barnstable. These facilities are and would be directly over and adjacent to designated wellhead protection zones and the sole source aquifer. These substations would require approximately 500,000 gallons of dielectric fluid to operate, and our groups dispute claims of non-toxicity and insolubility of the material scheduled for use. And we have the material safety data sheet. It's not what they say it is. The EPA, believe it or not, especially with what's gone on at Joint Base, has declined to assess whether or not this poses a danger to the Mid-Cape's drinking water supply because, this is their reasoning, no direct federal dollars are paying for these projects. 70% of these projects are paid for by tax credits, though, federal and state. But they say no direct dollars, so we can't come and do an assessment, and they run, of course, the sole source aquifer program. Our question here, does the Barnstable Board of Health have an obligation to investigate whether or not extreme environmental hazards to the town's drinking water are posed by these facilities? So I just wanted to share those kind of succinct questions because I know I wrote a very wordy petition. A lot of people signed it, and I spoke to you again, I believe, at the August or September meeting. I can't remember. But I do want to thank you all for, you are the first and so far only group that has totally listened to us and considered debating this, deliberating the matter. And again, what we're asking for is the Board of Health to either conduct or commission a study of this plan, because if you don't do it, as I said last time, who will? So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And if you don't mind, can you leave us a written copy so that we have
Yes.
that in the file?
Yes,
Because
let
in
me-
case
let
that
me
we want to
email
go
it
back
to
and
you.
rethink about the question stuff.
Can we get copies of that for each of us?
Yeah.
Yes, I will make sure I mail it. Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you very
I mean,
Yeah.
from us.
So a couple of things I just want to point out before we start. I just want to point out that right now, the cable are not energized because they shut down the wind turbines. So there is no EMF at this point in terms of recording anything.
Right.
Okay, and, for the cable to be fully energized, it would be a few years out. So any study I'm thinking about on the weekend, I'm thinking about, if you're looking at the scope, how big of a scope? It's a long term because you have to do that study for a few years. And depending on the level of the EMF is coming in, how much energy they are transmitting, the EMF will be different levels, right? So, and all of this it's mind-boggling in terms of the complexity of a study like this. And, how much effort do we have to do this? Because we are kind of like a warranty board. We don't have enough resource from the departments to support this. One of the things that we bounce it around, and Tom's suggesting is like whether we can redirect the questions back to the Department of Public Health from the states to address all these questions, because they are to me, they are in the better positions to have the resource to do this kind of study, or at least provide more information to clarify all this concern that we have. Because to me, my concern would be more on the EMF stuff because of the exposure that we have. As far as the sole source aquifer, we don't have a jurisdiction as far as the public drinking water wise, but we have a responsibility in terms of the private drinking well in the area downstreams. Right now, we are talking about there's a containment system for the dielectric fluid in each of the transformer, depending how they design it. They're supposed to have a containment. They are supposed to have leak detections and alarm notifications. So all this is in there as a proof. Is that 100% proof? It may not be 100%. It will be a 99%. Maybe I'm biased. I'm an engineer. I designed this containment system stuff for chemical system, but this would be a similar one. So I don't know how good it is to study something that is not going to happen or may not, or the chance of that to happen is very small. So that's only my perspective. Okay, so I just want to, lay this out and then see what you guys think. This is an open discussion from us, and then just,
I guess the first question I had is, did anyone else want to make any public comment or add to the discussion? Because I see a few more people here.
No.
I just had a question. When you had,
I'm sorry.
I had a question for Suzanne on number 2. What's a dangerous event when ocean water? You mean the electrical dangerous event of a, I'm sorry to interrupt, I was just had it.
So, these 3,000 to 5,000 events of underground electrical infrastructure happens most of the time when water infiltrates or even just moisture, and it shorts out this equipment. But the arcing that occurs can cause explosions that send manhole covers 25 feet into the air. And we're talking about places where children and families are walking around to go to the beach.
Right.
Where cars are parked. And I guess the idea of putting electrical infrastructure on the parcel that is submerged, what happens is every time there's a blow and a high tide, you can't get onto Dowses Beach, for example. The same thing happens over at Craigville and Poble's. They are completely under running ocean water. And under that ocean water now will be electrical infrastructure.
Yeah, right, okay. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt. Just come to the microphone, please.
Yeah, come to the microphone, because otherwise, they may not record it, whatever the comment that you have at the back.
Is this on? Okay. I'm Heather Swenson. I'm from Nice Neck Road East in Centerville. So my house is half a mile from where the substation is going to be built. And to your effect of saying that they're saying that there's containment for if there is a spill, and therefore there is no harm to our drinking water. However, you're only thinking of a spill. You have to think of explosion at a transformer station, and if there is an explosion, that dielectric oil is not going to be contained in a tub. It is going to be exploded across the property and onto the ground, the trees, everything else around it. most likely be on fire because it has been exploded. And you have a cranberry bog, and you have your largest freshwater lake on Cape Cod, 300 yards from this substation. So you can't say that the dielectric oil is going to be 100% contained because there's explosions. And I don't care if it's a 1% chance. Everybody keeps saying, what are the chances of it happening? All it takes is one chance, and our sole source aquifer will be contaminated. Is the town going to bring me bottled water when I can no longer drink the water because it's all been contaminated? Because it only takes one accident. It doesn't matter if it's, what's the chance? You have to consider what that chance is. So that's my only thing about containment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk.
Yep, thank you. Any comment from the board member?
You got one more?
Oh,
I know some of you, and I know Tom. My name's Larry Moore, and I live in Katuitt. But I'm very, very involved in this project from the last year and a half. And I appreciate the ability and willingness of this board to consider becoming involved. But my question, it deals with jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is multidimensional, and the question is, who defines it? What does it consist of? How, in what way is it measured? Those are some of the factors that I think would need to be considered. And I think at some point in time, if you as a board decide you want more variables or more guidance, then it should be requested, whether it's here in the town, there's plenty of people that really know about this stuff, or if you need to go beyond the sources of whoever's professionally involved with that to come up with it. But just as the young woman just said, dealing with the percentages should not be a dominant method of valuing or calculating, because the percentages, not just how much goes in it, but how do you measure and quantify it? What is the source of a study? The study in this case needs to include not just Cape Cod, not just a private lake area. Let's say they're doing this in Minnesota where there's 10,000 lakes. Let's not be governed just by the body of water, but define what you consider to be all of the jurisdictions and those that come under your jurisdiction. There's a distinction. So I encourage you to do that, because otherwise you're leaving that issue open. And I don't think that's what you'd want to do. It's not a complicated matter. You just have to get town people to help you define what the resource areas are. So I hope that that's clear enough. Does anybody want to ask me questions to clarify that or not? Yes, sir.
I have a question. They've been doing this in Holland and the North Sea for 40 years. What have they found?
That's right.
What have they found? Any of these things?
Yeah, the whole Baltic area of Europe.
Yeah.
The whole
have
the
any
areas
of these problems
of Ireland, Norway, Sweden, all of it. I agree. Yeah. How do you? Those studies are available, and they've been doing it for probably 3 decades.
Yeah.
But
So
successes.
we need to use their experience to help us.
That's right. And the question is, you have to look at it objectively and subjectively. You have to be wide open on that. And if you are open, your credibility will be there. If you're not, you got no credibility. Okay? Anybody else? Okay, thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment from the board member? Oh, one more.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting to talk because Suzanne covered most of it. Thank you. I'm Stacy Gunther. I live here in Barnstable. I'm a year-rounder. Just to your question, if I understand it correctly, you're talking about the Baltic Sea, and they've been doing it there. I think what a lot of Cape Codders feel is that we're talking about the onshore impacts of offshore wind. And we are unique here. We're a sandbar. Pardon? We're not unique. Well, we are unique is that our drinking water comes from a sole source aquifer. And if they're going to land these projects, if they're going to do it, they should be landed in industrial areas and places where they don't have to build a substation that's upwards of from 10 acres to perhaps 20 in over a sole source aquifer near wellhead protection areas. And that's the difference. I would question the European project developers and ask them, where did you land your projects? Did you land them in industrial parks? Did you land them in military bases? Or did you land them in fragile ecological places like Cape Cod? That's the question. And oh.
Did they ever measure a lot of electric radiation? Or did they ever have a leak? There are many questions to ask them.
There are lots of questions, and we need help. We need your help doing that. I guess that would be a quick response on my part. Okay, but there is, in our humble opinion, after dedicating a lot of time to this, there is a difference between these projects and what's gone over there. And, you know, there are people that are very, very experienced in doing this over there, who recently I saw actually someone being interviewed saying that, you know, they land them in industrial areas. And there's just something to think about as you're learning more about this. There's so much to learn. It's multi-layered. Park City Wind, to your points, Mr. Lee, is not fully, it's not done yet, right? It's not done. We know that. And Koval's, we don't have a lot of control over that because the digging has been done, right? Those windmills are being built as we speak. But it's, to do this study after things are done, it's too late. It's done. And that's a concern of mine. You know, it should be done before. It's before things move too far along. So thank you for letting me talk, especially spontaneously. Thanks.
Yeah.
Can I have your name for the minutes? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's,
Stacey.
that's actually, I mean,
And what's your last name?
my point of confusion with the whole thing is,
That, okay. Thank you.
why isn't this going in? I mean, do we not have any industrial parks that could be where this comes ashore? Why?
I think the answer
And do we
there is
have any
money.
ability to influence that? And I mean, I know those are two different questions, but it seems to me to be a very logical question to say, why are we bringing this ashore underneath our beaches when there have got to be, I mean, yeah, we may need to lay more cable to get to an industrial area, and this may be the shortest distance between 2 points. But why?
I
why
think
would we
the
do
answer
that?
to that is money. I think it's cheaper for them to do what they're doing. I mean, you have the Cape
Way this
Cod Canal,
administration pisses money
you have
away,
New
though, can't
Bedford,
be.
you have Fall River. I mean, I grew up in Fall River. There's plenty of area all along the shorefront.
Right, that's
They
what I
could
would
easily
think.
do it. So
But
I
New
think
Bedford,
it's
I
money.
would think.
But then the thing though is, you know, where they were landed is depending on what they propose and during the permitting process and how they are going to review it and approving it, right? That's the only option that you have. Right now, if you're talking about the, you know, what is it? The wind, that was approved, and then the Park City Wind, New England Wind #1, that's approved. So that is pretty much there in the sense like they permitted. We don't have any say,
Right.
you know, on the project already. So the only one that is in the future is like maybe New England Wind #2 that raise these kind of questions that, you know, the town council need to kind of chime in to decide that is it something that they can support. I mean, we, from the Board of Health side, the more we look at it, I think, to me, this is only my thinking, is what is the health effect of the EMF stuff? How does it affect? I understand your question in terms of, yeah, you have to let it be able to see it, but otherwise, how do you know what kind of EMF level for a certain voltage that comes through. We don't know. So what is the health effect? You don't have nothing to measure.
Right.
So you can't do any study per se. But, is there anything done in Europe? I don't know. I have not spent the time to go and look for it. But, but that's the question mark that I have in my mind, so. Any other comment from the board? Nothing?
No, absolutely. I have some comments. So I think I'm very concerned to hear that you went out and measured EMF fields and they were a lot higher than what you were led to believe. So all of these agreements that were signed at the federal and state level, I'm sure came with provisions that, certain parameters had to be met, maybe including, how much EMFs were allowed to be generated. I don't know. I'm so disappointed to hear that, that since these projects are only happening because of political will at the federal level, that the federal agency, the EPA, isn't willing to help us study the possible ill effects of the project, which never would have happened without them pushing it, essentially. So, so who's going to study the possible ill health effects on our citizens that live in this town, in our neighborhoods? When we're hearing that, as far as we know, we might be the first residential area that's been asked to accommodate high voltage cables from windmill factories offshore. That would make us the first. And we also, unfortunately, I think things have changed. I know the town, is trying to work with the state on this and the federal government, because there's been such a push for these windmill factories. And that, there's a lot of money that comes to the town, and they're trying to be pragmatic and make the best of it. But things have changed now that we've seen this blade fall into the ocean and cause all sorts of environmental damage. And we don't need the windmills to have adequate electricity and power on Cape Cod. So Avangrid has not shown itself to be a good partner with the way they handled the blade. If any of you saw what happened, when they talked about it in the Nantucket Town meetings, they waited 2 days to tell anyone that the blade was in the water, and there were fishermen going through there. So that raises great concerns about the reliability of the information that has been put out by Avangrid in order to secure these permits they've gotten at the federal and the state level. So how can we trust them? When they say that these cables are safe, I think we have an obligation to investigate. Somebody needs to investigate it. The fact that they were able to go out with meters and get readings that were way higher than what was stated by the company is, I don't know what to say about that. And if we don't look into it, well, who's going to? And I know we have no jurisdiction. I mean, we're a local town. We have limited jurisdiction within the town. And we have no jurisdiction over the state or the federal agencies. But the first thing to do is to gather facts, and then we can see where it goes. So I feel like we do have an obligation to our citizens to look into this further. I feel pretty strongly about that.
Any other comment from the board member? Paul? Don?
I agree with Don 100%. I have right from the start.
So there is a memo dated June 28th from the state. That one was kind of response to, this is a memo to Mark Els. I think you probably have a copy of that already too. Basically, it says, on behalf of the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs and the Department of Public Health and the Energy Facility Siting Board, we want to emphasize, based on the project review and recent readings, the projects are safe. because we have question mark in terms of this safe factor in here. You know, to me, I think the first question to me, myself, is, you know, I want to get back to them and say, well, what is your documentation in terms of the safety, in terms of the health effect? Can you show us the information to verify or to confirm the safety of that stuff? So that's my first inclination of do that and see what the response is coming up from the states. You know, that's my suggestions as a personal thinking. You know, I think this is also mentioned from Tom too.
I think it also might be worth asking why they would not be just considering bringing it ashore in an industrial area. I mean, the reality is it's probably not private money, but it's the company's money that's paying for the cable to get to wherever.
Right.
If the state said, we're not going to allow you to bring it ashore in the middle of one of our beaches, it's got to go ashore in an industrial area. I mean, much as I hate it, the state is the one with the leverage for that.
Right.
I mean, they've got the leverage that, I'm not going to get into a diatribe. They've got a lot of leverage. Why, you know, what's your evidence that it's safe? And by the way, why didn't you make them just bring it ashore in an industrial park like is done everywhere else?
Right, right.
Because I really am kind of curious as to why the obvious answer doesn't seem to be the one that they're going with.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we can also, you know, mention it in the letter addressing that questions and let them answer and see how it goes from there. So
Who's the letter gonna go to?
I would say.
Department of Public Health.
I would say Department of Public Health.
See, as far as EMF,
Right.
that would be Department of Public Health, not DEP. Is that letter you're referencing DEP or DPH?
No, this is from the environmental, this is the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're the same people that we gave us the lecture up at the college back in the winter. And then 2 days later, they said they hadn't done anything. 2 days later, they put out a 144-page report that was, you know, in their favor. It's terrible. Politicians.
So
We can draft, I guess what Tom is suggesting, draft up a letter to that agency, have legal look at it, draft it up. You want to bring it back to the next board meeting for the board review before we send it? Or you want to just make a motion to do that at this meeting?
Why don't we do it?
Okay.
Yeah.
With all these, with various questions.
All that's going to happen if we bring it back is.
Yeah.
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 And I would include as many questions, even the ones that were asked
Suzanne?
today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
we get that data on the EMF measurements? I don't know if you guys tabulated it or have it in any
Well,
recorded form.
you'll recall it was when Vineyard Wind was running 10 turbines.
Right.
And there will be 62, and it was coming in at 89 milligauss.
Yeah.
Now, when I bought my meter, there are 3 of us in town who bought EMF meters, and they come with little cards, and they say right there, when it reaches 200 milligauss, leave the area, that this isn't a level of milligauss that's EMF that's very dangerous. Avangrid has told us, oh, poo-poo, that's 2,000 milligauss. I don't know what the eventual reading will be once all their turbines for Vineyard Wind are running. But we're talking about, one of the questions that arose was, you know, why are they doing this way? Well, they made a decision a long time ago to run HVAC cables, not HVDC cables. HVDC ocean cables can go much, much further than HVAC. So they went on, you know, they decided to go as close as possible, and I think that was a financial decision. But these are 400 megawatts, and I've said before, the cables that light up Nantucket, there are 2 of them that run off of Calmus, and they are 35 and 36 megawatts. That's how much juice they run. They want to put 7 in Barnstable that each run 400. And you're talking about turning Barnstable into a massive extra high voltage town. And, you know, it's really, when you think, and this is why we came to the Board of Health, because we feel that there's a question about doing this to our town and the health and the safety of our people. That's why we're turning to you, because the EPA won't listen to us. And as far as permitting and citing at the state level, you put your finger on it. It's the EE&A folks. They just run this right through. They don't ask questions. They don't even seem to have the details about a lot of the aspects of these projects. But I've read all of us have read every single word of every single filing. And it's scary when you know what you know about these projects. I probably rambled on. I'm sorry, Dr. Lesko, but your original question was the milligauss, and can we document it? We've just taken pictures of our meters.
Yeah.
That's all we have, is that documentation. We have documentation of the vaults being completely underwater. We have documentation of dewatering activities that I talked about in my first appearance here.
Yeah.
That, you know, we really wondered about, where's that water, that dirty water going, and what was it touching before it was, you know, emptied out of these vaults. Every time there's a flood, they have to dewater. But anyway, and plus, you should know there will be an underground electrical vault every single half mile.
Yeah.
That's the plan, okay? So if it's 7 miles, you're talking about a whole bunch of vaults throughout our town and 20 miles of duct bank.
So if you have a picture of the
The
electrical box, spice connection box on the beach that is submerged or flooded.
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of
I want
those.
to have a copy of that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we'll pull everything together that you would
Send it
like.
to Tom.
To Tom. Tom
Yeah.
will be my contact for any visual evidence.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I just think it'd be helpful to have whatever supporting data we have.
Yep.
This is obviously the very beginnings of, you know, an investigation, so.
Yeah, that's great.
It'd be nice to have some information.
And if I may, I would like to say that contacting the Department of Public Health and the Department of Environmental Protection, there's no reason you can't write to both of them at the same time.
Yeah,
But
that's a good point,
writing to EEA is talking to the choir up there.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your listening.
Thank you.
Yep.
Could I have a motions to approve, to authorize the chair to draft the letter and then review by the attorney, and then we'll send out and get a copy, giving you a copy?
So, yeah, let's have a motion to approve the chair creating a letter to send out on behalf of these environmental concerns with the cables, and draft it and run it by the town attorney, and then send it to the relevant agencies.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. You need a motion to-
No, just 1 minute. Our next meeting is November the 26th. So could I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned at 4:12.